Today we are dedicating our show to Mr. Peter Berkmeyer. Peter was a resident of town of Somers, an outdoorsman, a prize-winning photographer. He served as the treasurer of Somers Land Trust, instrumental in the purchase of 654 acres of Anglefly Preserve. Unfortunately, he passed away last week. The town of Somers will dedicate a walking trail at the preserve in honor of him. I invite you all to visit the beautiful preserve and take a walk on Mr. Berkmeyer's trail. Welcome to Scramble Game Show. Today we're honored and very happy to have a guest. His name is Will Michael, and he's a naturalist. As you know, we all are very concerned about our environment. Will has done a lot of work, research work, particularly in the wildlife. So we would like to talk to him through his work to learn a little bit about our environment, in fact, very local to us in the Somers area. Will?
Hi, Ivy.
Welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We are very impressed with your work. I have seen your DVD, and we'd like to introduce your DVD through our public channel, and certainly would like to, also learn a little more about you and your work. So, would you please tell us a little bit first about yourself?
Sure, be happy to. Again, my name is Will Michael, and for the past 5 years, I've been combining environmental science with media.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, computers, television, internet is such a part of our society and culture.
Right.
And at the same time, there's so many environmental issues that are important.
Mm-hmm.
And as a naturalist, I thought the best way to inform a large audience is through television.
Definitely.
And
I mean, we have a living example of Al Gore receiving a Peace Prize, a Nobel Prize, is all through media and
right.
work about the environment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in high school, when I was a student,
Yes.
It all started with amphibians,
Mm-hmm.
where amphibians are a species of special concern right now in the tri-state area, especially because we have a Jefferson salamander,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll talk about. We'll see some salamanders in a few minutes.
Okay, great.
This Jefferson salamander is interbreeding with a blue-spotted salamander.
Ah.
And what's happening is a hybrid species is being created. So scientists are monitoring this hybridization to see if we'll end up with a new species, a variation of several species, or will they breed themselves into extinction?
Yeah.
So as a high school student at the time, I found this fascinating.
Oh, yes.
And that's what sort of started me on this path to say, well, there's a lot of fascinating subject matter in our own backyard.
Nature, yes, sure.
And not even far away, right here in Somers, in Yorktown, over the border in Connecticut, where I'm from, Bethel, Connecticut.
Yeah.
So that was the initial topic that got me started in producing a television program to inform our audiences and our communities about what's going on.
Good, good.
Now, the most recent project was done in Somers, New York, with Somers High School.
Mm-hmm.
And I was brought in as an artist in residence in the Somers High School system, working with media students and environmental students.
Right. This is Miss Susan Riley's class?
Yes.
Right.
Mrs. Riley and Mrs. Mafucci.
No, Miss Mafucci.
She was the environmental science teacher. And what we did last year, 2006-2007 school year, we were in the Anglefly Nature Preserve.
Anglefly, yes.
From September until May. And the Anglefly Preserve is 650 acres of
Wildlife
nature conservancy that is new to the community.
Right.
It wasn't officially a nature sanctuary until last year.
Yeah.
So we created a film that really highlights the diversity of wildlife in this preserve, and it's accessible to Westchester County, the whole community. So the idea here is to, again, show the community the beauty and the value of this particular
Preserve, yeah.
Yes. And that's been the trend of what I'm trying to do, and so far it's been successful.
Right. This is great work and really important work. So shall we take a look some of your sort of
Sure.
recording or photography of wildlife?
We're going to take a look at a two-lined salamander
Yeah.
clip.
Provides an ideal habitat for two-lined salamanders.
Yep. Two-lined salamanders, they're not really uncommon, but they're very habitat specific. And you'll see this is clear water. There's no sediment. And a lot of times, if a stream is near a road where the sanding trucks come by, all the sand fills the stream in, and then the amphibian life dies. So we're lucky to have this. And this actually is the start of the Anglefly Brook. This is what the preserve is named after. So two-lined salamander larvae, like these little pools where it's not so rapid. Oh, there's one right there, a larva. This is very small. They live 2 years in this state. You see how small its gills are? Any type of amphibian is so sensitive to the environment that the fact that these are in this stream is a good sign. So, anyone want to hold on to them?
Can you give me some water?
Now feel free to kick over some rocks yourselves.
Yeah.
Nothing bites. They can fade out anytime.
We can feed out anytime. Right. This is so interesting.
Yes. Now that was just a small portion of a 40-minute documentary.
Right.
And that was the two-lined salamander.
Right.
And the Anglefly Brook, it's sort of the beginning of it, which is, as you saw,
right.
clean water,
Yes.
fast flowing, and that's prime habitat for this particular species of salamander.
Right.
One of the best and most convenient things about amphibians in general is that if you know the habitat, it's easy to bring school groups to the habitat
Right.
and turn over a few rocks or logs or
So you can observe it, yeah.
and you can actually see this firsthand. Some of the larger mammals that we have, or birds, they take more time of just sitting patiently, waiting hours. Maybe you see it, maybe you don't.
Right.
But we can't do that with a large group of students
Right.
because we're under time pressure.
Yeah.
But amphibians, personally, they're my favorite anyway.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're easily accessible, especially during the spring breeding season. In a few minutes, we're going to look at another clip of amphibian activity, this time frogs.
Oh yes, frogs, yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about this is that the wood frog is extremely common in this area, but they're terrestrial. So you don't see them in ponds or in streams or in rivers. They're always on land throughout the spring, throughout the summer, and they're kind of difficult to just find.
Yeah, because they blend into the wood and leaves and so on. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a look
Okay.
in a few seconds, I believe.
And observe the behavior of the frogs that were inhabiting it.
Now, as we get closer, it's going to get louder and louder. It's not coming from this pool. It's coming from the pool beyond here, and that's the sound of the wood frog. So as we get near them, there's going to be hundreds of them, all in the water. The quieter we approach, the less they will be intimidated. if we do make a lot of noise, once we're there and we just sit for a minute, they'll start becoming active again. Yeah, there's one right there. That's a male. The males are sort of a brownish color. The females have more of a pink. And you'll see the females are a lot bigger, and they're filled with eggs. Okay, I see one right here. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. This frog can be in the water and still his vocal sac is not obstructed by the water. If we can come back in May and find the toads, it's really funny because they have to stand up straight like this. And when they're floating in the water, they make this garbled kind of sound, but these guys don't have that problem. Does anybody want to hold them?
Want to hold it?
Oh, there's two. See, yeah, see, they're all over the place. Whoa, don't move. There's really hundreds of them around. These males have just emerged from hibernation, and they haven't eaten anything yet. They come straight to the pool. So all this running and swimming and singing they're running on fumes here. Okay, this is a marbled salamander larva, and the fact that these guys are here is really, really cool. It doesn't look like much now, but as an adult, it's black and white, sort of swirled blotches. And obviously, this tadpole is not from the wood frog because it's already developed. It has legs. So in a couple weeks, this will be leaving the pond, so they're not competing for the same food. This is the first step in sort of a world of activity that's going to be happening from now all the way until September.
In the end,
So this is also very interesting.
Yeah, and as I just mentioned, that particular frog is terrestrial, but for a 1-week window during the year, hundreds, thousands migrate to these vernal pools to reproduce, lay their eggs, and then they disappear and disperse back into the surrounding forest. So again, the habitat, we know where it is, we know the time of year, and we can guarantee the students to see an event that few have witnessed firsthand before.
Do they remember the spot to come back every year? Or this just sort of random they choose?
It's I don't know if it's memory. Technically, they remember, oh, there's a pond, a vernal pool over here.
Right.
But vernal pools, they do return to the same
Spot.
pool based on their habitat.
Right.
Where these vernal pools some are in highlands, some are in lowlands.
Right.
So if you figure there's no water for 200 or 300 feet around this small pool, at this time of year, during the early spring when they fill with water, the whole circumference, the woodlands, all these
Just
amphibians
migrate.
travel back to
Probably
this.
is just seeking water somehow.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily by memory like some
But
higher memories to remember.
I would say they do have a memory
Yeah.
similar to the salmon going back upstream. And this was interesting. There were 2 vernal pools right next to each other.
Right.
And the pool opposite this, there were no frogs in.
Oh.
So there was
I see.
something about this one that they remembered. Maybe the water remained longer in the pool, and the other one dried out
Yes.
more rapidly.
Yeah.
But there's a degree of memory,
This is really fascinating. So you also, of course, study
Yes, and
things. You want to
when
tell us a little bit about these?
sure. When we're out doing field work and then education afterwards, or at the same time, sometimes we stumble upon
These
specimens, and we get donations from museums, and we have just a few artifacts, different types of turtle shells and animal skulls. Now this right here is a box turtle shell,
box turtle.
and box turtles are common to this area. And when we're talking with students,